on YouTube. So today is a little bit of a special video for me because a little over a year and a half ago, I made my first video, my first vlog, and it kind of went viral, and it was talking shit about my BMW M4. Well, today I'm in a 2015 BMW M4, the exact same car I used to own. Instead of giving you guys an in-depth review, and I'm sure there's 100 videos going over all the specs on this car, I'm gonna go over what's changed since then. I'm a much different person. Now I'm also much better at conveying thoughts to a camera. Have I changed my mind? The M4's appearance is probably the only reason I actually bought mine. I love the look of this thing. It kind of has like this pit bull look, super low to the ground, super wide. And the owner of this car made it look so much better. This actually is not a GTS. It just has a four-cylinder body kit on it, and it looks like a GTS. And I would argue this is the way to go because something about having to put water in the back of my car on a weekly basis just doesn't sound appealing for a daily driver. This has all the best features of the M4, and it looks like a GTS without all the annoying shit behind the GTS. The car's wrapped in satin black, and it's on a set of forged four-cylinder wheels in like a rose gold finish. Possibly one of the best looking cars I've had on my channel. 425 horse, 406 pound-feet from an inline six with twin turbos feeding it. It's not a tame car by any means from the factory, but when you tune it, you get some interesting results. My car is right at like 525 horse. This car is probably very similar. I've driven a lot of tuned cars and high horsepower modded out cars, and I've never got the same feeling that I had for my M4, that like it would have been better with less power. So how does it stack up against this competition? In my opinion, I've driven the RS5, I've driven the C63, Lexus might have a competitor, but I don't really consider it. Visually, I love the new Audis, but the M4 is by far the most aggressive looking. Performance, I gotta give it to the C63. I'm a little bit partial to AMG, but the twin turbo V8, it just feels a little bit more beefy, and I feel like you get a little bit more car with the C. The interior, the leather quality, everything just seems a little bit nicer to me. BMW's interiors have looked the same for like 20 years, and it's the same philosophy Porsche kind of has, where if it's not broken, don't fix it. Everything's driver focused, the whole center console and everything's kind of angled towards you. When you're driving this thing, you're definitely focused on driving. So the Mercedes is like a little too bougie sometimes, and the Audi was a little too refined. Kind of looks like a very sterile Apple store in there. Against its competitors, what's my favorite between the C63, the M4, and the RS5? If the RS5 had more power, I'd give it to that. But since it doesn't, I think I'm gonna give it to the M4, just because I love the driving experience in this thing. And that's something that just drastically changed since I started my channel. I hated everything about the M4. I had just come out of like a 911, and I went into that, and I think I was expecting a little too much for the price range. Exhaust notes straight from BMW, stock, sounds absolutely garbage to me. Like, this thing sounds like shit. However, the M Performance exhaust fixes a lot of that. Sounds much better. Still not what I want. I prefer either that like super loud F1 style sound like you get in the GT3 or Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff like that, or the super deep kind of grunt of a V8. This is in that like GTR 370Z sounding category. And a little part of me has to question how good this car could have been if BMW put a twin turbo V8 in it. But what I don't like about the engine is made up for with the transmission. The dual clutch in the BMW is by far the best, right behind Porsche. I'd say Porsche has like nailed it down to a T. BMW is right behind them. It shifts exactly when you want it to an automatic. A lot of the cars I drive, automatic mode is like useless. You put your foot down, you're just not going anywhere. I love that they give you the option to shift with the center console or the paddles, and the paddles actually feel really good. This still, it feels Xbox triggery. I say that about a lot of cars I drive, and a lot of them do. Imagine you're playing Xbox, that right trigger is kind of what this feels like when you upshift. The BMW community is awesome also. Every other M car I've seen since I've been driving this has thumbs up and honked and flashed lights and everything else. I bitched about the performance in my M4. A lot of people responded with, I just don't know how to drive. You must not turn the traction control off. I love when like 9-year-old little kids tell me I don't know how to drive, and that's why I don't like my M4. And it's like, have you ever even driven an M4 besides in Forza? I think not. Off the line, same issue as my car. When you go over 500 horsepower in this car, launch control is useless. This thing's not gonna do as well as the all-wheel drive RS5 off the line. Funny enough though, all the videos I've seen of this heads up against an RS5 in the quarter mile, somehow or another this wins. BMW claims 4 seconds. I don't think I ever got my car off the line anywhere near that. I don't think I get this one off the line anywhere near that. Maybe I just don't know how to drive. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe I'm just a shitty driver. BMW fanboys, just let me know down below how I don't know what I'm doing in life. The benefit of it not being all-wheel drive though, it loves to slide around. Oh! I will say once you're on the highway, you're moving at like 80, 90 and you put your foot down, you're not gonna accelerate as fast as something like the C63. But first, second, and third, this thing pulls like crazy, and the fact that I can throw it into a turn, kick the back end out, and then take off again. And this is the problem that when I owned my M4, I never really took it to the track. I never really had a lot of fun with it. Like, just know that I haven't been in an M4 in over a year, and within 3 hours of driving it, I'm completely comfortable throwing this thing sideways. Like, it is so well balanced. I will give BMW that. The M3 was incredibly balanced, and the M4 is one of the best balanced cars I think out there. Like, if you're looking for a fun car to take on the track, you can't beat this. And if you're looking for a fun car to drift, I don't know why more people don't drift the M4. By the way, make sure to go check out the owner's Instagram page. It'll be right here. I appreciate you letting me borrow the car for a little bit. I'm gonna try my best to keep the back tires in one piece for you. These things are so popular, they're everywhere, and the community behind like BMW M cars is, I would say, probably the most loyal of any I've ever come in contact with. A year and a half later, I still have BMW fanboys that downvote every video I make. It doesn't even have to do with BMW. I still to this day get DMs and comments about how I'm a piece of shit and I don't know how to drive, and a real driver knows how to drive a BMW M car. And it's like, I respect how loyal people are to these cars, like a cult following. And I'm starting to understand why. Like, do I agree with everything BMW's done recently? Hell no. Do I think the i8's a cool car? No. I think taking one of the most beautiful designs I've ever seen and then making it this like shitty, slow electric car instead of putting a V10 in it and making like this crazy performance car was still the stupidest thing any company has ever done. BMW, in my opinion, they're still catering to the masses, right? My gripe with BMW is that I think they kind of went too far that way, selling cheaper, more gas-efficient cars to the masses and not focusing so much on their racing heritage that they've had for so long. That I still don't think BMW is pushing the boundaries as much as a company like Porsche, the AMG division from Mercedes, even the Quattro division from Audi. I'm very excited to see what Audi comes out with this next year. I'm still not the biggest fan of BMW as a company. Have I changed my mind about the M4? Yes and no. I think this is one of the best cars you can buy for the money. If you pick one of these things up for under $50,000, put another 4 or 5 grand into it with a tune and exhaust, maybe throw a wing on the back. I love the way the wing looks on this thing. Like, I think my issue with the M4 for so long was that it didn't have a huge wing on the back. The look of this particular car from the outside has almost changed my mind, like, by itself. Like, I am almost a huge fan of the M4 because of this car. So this is like my chance to redeem myself. So what I would say is that when I made that first video, I was terrible at vlogging. I had a couple points that I stand by, but I just was very bad at conveying those. So I ended up saying maybe a lot of things that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then when it came together in an edit, which I was terrible at editing, it just came off really weird. And then it just sounds like me bitching about things that I could have had control over. And I had countless comments about, why'd you buy the car modded out if you don't like it modded out? Why don't you raise the car? Financially at the time, it was awesome. I drove that car for 6 months in between my Range Rover and the GT4. I didn't lose any money on it, but I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. If I could go back and redo that video after driving this car, I definitely would. My views on BMW still haven't changed, but my views on the M4 definitely have. For the money in that like 30 to 50,000 price point, this and the GT350 I'd put like neck and neck as far as like driver experience, the amount of relatively inexpensive mods you can do to it to make it your own, and then also just like road presence. I would say like this and the GT350 are neck and neck. If you want European, this is the car to get. Would I ever buy another one? Unless it was like as a project car for the channel and like strip it out and turn it into like a drift car or something like that. No, I wouldn't buy another one of these. It doesn't interest me, but I am starting to see why people are very interested in the M4 and why a lot of you guys have asked for me to do this car and kind of give you an update on my opinions. Super short and simple, to the point. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see a more in-depth review of one of these things, check out my BMW M3 competition review. It's basically the exact same car, minus 2 doors and a little bit of weight. So if you want to see more about the technology and all that, check that review out. Check out the latest merch at thefuelforce.com. Comment down below what review you want to see next, because this one was just kind of an update. I had the option to drive the car for a little bit, get some photos of it, and I figured I'd throw together a video. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. I left my wallet in my E. I left my insurance at the house, and I'm 90% sure I have a warrant out from a ticket I forgot to pay like 2 months ago. This review could go really bad really fast. That cop, I was going 110, the cop got on. I don't think he saw me, but this truck right here just saved my ass. Yeah, I'm gonna stop now. Peace out, dudes. You know, not only do I edit these car reviews, but I film them completely alone. And you'd be surprised how much of a bitch it is to film an entire car review by yourself. I gotta put a GoPro on my head, I gotta put 2 on the car, I gotta go put this camera like 40 yards that way, drive by, drive back, pick up the camera, move the camera, do the same thing again. The drone tracking kind of sucks, so trying to fly a drone and drive is a terrible idea. I don't recommend anyone try that. I look back and I'm like, I wish my first video would have been like a Logan Paul style, just like really loud, obnoxious, play some viral pranks on my friends, tase a couple dead rats, show you guys a dead body, and my life would have been so much easier. But instead I was like, no. I want to be the Christopher Nolan of car reviews and car YouTubers. And now I'm stuck in this inception of hell with the bar set all the way up. You know, I love you guys. I feel like I might have fucked up a little bit.